Title: The Bride's Haunting Night. On her wedding night, Clara stood alone in her room, adorned in white lace and satin, her heart aflutter with excitement and anticipation. The grand ballroom below echoed with the laughter and music of the celebration. But in the quiet solitude of her chamber, Clara felt a sense of unease settle over her like a shroud. As she waited for her husband to join her, Clara's mind wandered to the stories she had heard, tales of spirits and hauntings that lurked in the shadows of the old mansion where they held their nuptials. But she brushed off her fears, eager to begin her new life with the man she loved. But just as the clock struck midnight and her husband had not yet returned, a chill ran down Clara's spine, the air thick with an otherworldly energy. With each passing moment, the silence grew deafening, broken only by the soft rustle of the curtains and the distant murmur of the party below. Desperate for distraction, Clara ventured into the dimly lit hallway, her footsteps echoing through the empty corridors as she searched for her husband. But as she reached the end of the hall, a movement caught her eye, a figure standing in the shadows, its form obscured by darkness. Heart-pounding, Clara stepped closer for a better look, her breath catching in her throat as she realized the figure was not alone. Beside it stood another shadowy form, its features twisted and contorted like a nightmare come to life. Frozen with fear, Clara watched in horror as the figures drew closer, their movements slow and deliberate as though they were stalking prey. With each step, the air grew thick with an oppressive energy, the temperature dropping until Clara could see her breath in the air before her. Desperate for escape, Clara stumbled backwards, her heart racing with terror as she fumbled for the door to her room. But to her horror, it was locked, leaving her trapped in the darkness, with only the spectral figures for company. With a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach, Clara turned and fled into the night, her footsteps echoing through the empty corridors as she raced towards the safety of the party below. But just as she reached the stairs, she heard a bone-chilling howl behind her, the sound reverberating through the darkness like a death knell. With a scream, Clara flung open the door and stumbled inside, her mind reeling with fear as she slammed the door shut behind her. And as she collapsed onto the bed, gasping for breath, she knew that she would never forget the horrors she had witnessed on that fateful night of her wedding. Title: The Portrait's Curse. In a quaint antique shop nestled in the heart of town, the Johnson family stumbled upon a peculiar painting, a portrait of a woman with hauntingly beautiful features, her eyes seemingly following them as they moved through the room. Intrigued by its mysterious allure, they decided to bring it home to hang in their living room. From the moment the portrait graced their walls, strange occurrences began to unfold in the Johnson household. Objects would go missing only to reappear in odd places. Whispers echoed through the halls when no one else was around, and the air grew heavy with an oppressive energy. As weeks turned into months, the once happy family found themselves consumed by a sense of dread, their lives overshadowed by the presence of the eerie painting. But no matter how hard they tried to rid themselves of it, the portrait seemed to have a hold over them that they could not break. One fateful night, as a storm raged outside and the darkness pressed in around them, the Johnsons gathered in the living room to confront the source of their torment. With trembling hands, they reached for the portrait, determined to rid themselves of its cursed influence once and for all. But as they touched the frame, a chill ran down their spines, the air thick with an otherworldly energy. With a sudden rush of movement, the painting came to life before their eyes, the woman's eyes glowing with an unnatural light as she stepped out of the frame and into their world. With a scream, the Johnsons fled from the room, their hearts pounding with fear as they raced towards the safety of the front door. But no matter how fast they ran, they could not escape the haunting presence of the portrait, its cursed gaze following them wherever they went. Desperate for escape, the Johnsons sought out the help of a renowned psychic. hoping to break the curse that had befallen their family. But as they delved deeper into the painting's dark history, they discovered a truth more horrifying than they could have ever imagined. The woman in the portrait was a vengeful spirit, trapped between worlds by a curse of her own making. With the psychic's guidance, the Johnsons performed a ritual to banish the spirit from their home, their voices raised in prayer as they called upon the forces of light to cleanse their house of evil. And as the final words were spoken, the portrait burst into flames, its cursed influence vanishing into the night like smoke in the wind. With a sense of relief washing over them, the Johnsons watched as the flames consumed the painting. The darkness that had plagued their home finally lifted, and as they stood together in the ashes of their ordeal, they knew that they had faced a terror beyond their wildest nightmares, a horror born from the depths of the haunted portrait's curse.